Oh, yeah. Five-star. LSU. I said, they ain't ready for the LSU. No, they ain't ready for the LSU, huh? They ain't ready for the LSU. No, they ain't ready for the LSU. We the best in the league if you looking for talent. LSU going hard, but we beat Alabama, then we going out to Florida. Drown the Gators, everybody getting bucked when we step in the stadium. This is the LSU anthem, you know it's a hit. You don't know another rapper two-step like this. See me screaming out the window, yelling purple and gold. I'm an LSU fan, girl, you know how we roll now. Back and back it on up, hey. Back and back it on up, hey. Back and back it on up, hey. Back and back it on up, hey.
T-A. We live right here on the halftime of the LSU Ohio State women's basketball second round game. We're bringing it to you. Zach, we got a lot to talk about today. Lots to talk about.
Good stuff. Positive stuff.
Good stuff to talk about. But we're going to start with the women's basketball and our immediate reaction here to this first half. But before we get there, let's back up just a little bit and let's talk about their first round game against Jackson State.
Yeah.
'Twas an interesting game. It got fishy. It got hairy. It wasn't too easy.
You thought it might be another bad day for LSU sports, especially following the men's game and the baseball team losing. Ooh, and the baseball team lost.
Brutal.
You know, the baseball team
brutal.
lost on Saturday, and so you were pretty nervous that it was going to be 2 days back to back of just absolute brutal viewership for LSU fans.
Zach, give me your thoughts on that game. I mean, we both watched it. Well, what did you like out of that game? What scared you the most?
Well, you know what? I think we got to look at Jackson State as a whole. You know, Jackson State, they won the SWAC conference. They had the SWAC conference player of the year. You know, so Jackson State was a really good team to draw as a 14 seed. You know, it wasn't like they were some snub. You know, LSU was playing a good team, a conference championship team with a conference of the year player. And so, you know, we definitely didn't need to overlook that. Yeah. Another thing is, you know, what stood out to me is it seemed like LSU maybe was looking ahead a little bit. I'm not sure, but it made me a little nervous, especially just watching the whole game, just because of the past couple of days and all the bad news and the losses that LSU sports had. So it was very frustrating. I think a lot of that was just frustration built up from the day before, a lot of that frustration in watching that game. But they played really, really well in the second quarter. I mean, they dominated the second quarter. And when LSU's playing like they did in the second quarter of the Jackson State game, I don't know if there's many teams out there that can stick with them when they're playing in that manner. And, you know, they also played really well in the last 4 minutes. I mean, they had to make a comeback. It looked very bleak. I think the largest lead was near the end was probably 9 or 7 points. Y'all correct me if I'm wrong on that. Our chat. Huh?
They got to a 10-point lead.
Yeah. Okay. So 10-point lead. So it was even worse. Yeah. And, you know, LSU had to claw back into that game. And luckily they were able to, and they played really well the last 4 minutes of that game. But LSU, if they want to continue to advance, and, you know, we've seen them struggle here, and we'll get to it in just a minute. But, you know, if LSU wants to continue and make a deep run in this tournament, they cannot – they've got to play a full 40-minute game. They cannot play, you know, because they played really, really well in the second quarter and in the last 4 minutes of the second half. You can't do that in this tournament. You've got to play a full 40-minute game. And right now, LSU is going to have to play this last 20 minutes against Ohio State, and they're going to have to compete and do a lot better.
Yeah, there's no doubt. There's no doubt. It was definitely a scare, and all LSU fans, I feel like, were like, oh, my goodness gracious. This has to be the worst weekend of LSU sports in a really long time. I posted.
It was looking that way.
I posted on our Twitter the the Michael Scott, no, God, please no. I mean, so man, it was shaping up brutal there at the end. And you and me are from Mississippi, and we know what Jackson State's like. Like, their fans were jumping, and their Jackson State fans are always like that. We were seeing the Balcony Bengals post like, man, they're showing our fans up right now.
And you heard them chanting like when you're watching,
yeah,
from the TV and on the
you could see it.
broadcast. I mean, they were there. They were very
it.
well represented, and they were chanting. And LSU, the LSU fan base in the PMAC, they're like, we gotta kind of react to this. Like, they're kind of taking over a little bit here, and of course, they did. The LSU fan base, and of course, led by our Balcony Bengals friends. They were able to kind of quiet that a little bit. And
there for a minute though, it was they was taking over the PMAC. It felt like, but look, hats off to Jackson State and Tamika Reed. They played an incredible game. I mean, they played an incredible game. I mean, they fought to the very end, tooth and nail. And they have nothing to hang their heads about. And I really loved what Kim Mulkey said to Tamika. She was like, "Hey, you ain't gonna be at Jackson State very long if they don't pay you, right?" Like, what was kind of ironic is Baylor played Jackson State last year in the first round. And so Kim Mulkey and Tamika Reed faced off last year in the first round, and she said, they gave us all they had in the first round last year. Now here, Kim Mulkey's first year at LSU, they just by chance draw Jackson State again, and she gives LSU, man, they gave LSU everything they had. I mean, LSU had to go on a 19-3 run to close that game out. It was a scare for sure. But look, hats off to them. They have nothing to hang their heads about. But the Tigers ultimately prevail, and Jalen Cherry had a career game, 24 points.
She couldn't miss.
Cherry. And she was absolutely on fire in the first half. She really was carrying the team for the first half, it felt like, for a while. And, thank goodness for her to keep us in it and then kind of carry us into the second half with the lead. But then Kayla Pointer does what Kayla Pointer does in the second half, and she led that run for the comeback to overtake Jackson State. 26 points. 26 points for Kayla Pointer. They really just, it felt like that Jackson State, when they got that 10-point lead, it felt insurmountable because their defense was really just shutting us out. And thankfully, our rebounding is an incredible factor for our women's basketball team. I mean, they own the glass, and you get a
lot of offensive boards though in the last game against Jackson.
She had a double-double. She had 17 points and 14 rebounds. I mean,
I think going into the half, didn't she have a double-double? She
might have. I'm not exactly sure, but man, she had a great game as well, and thank goodness for our rebounding. We got second chance looks, third chance looks at sometimes, and boy, they pulled it out. A really good thing that was, kind of a highlight of that game. Well, obviously, the comeback was the highlight of the game. But one of the cool things was to see Alexis Morris come back. Second team All SEC player. I mean, has been a crucial piece to our team. It was good to see her come in and get 8 points, and she's back here tonight playing, and she hit her first field goal in March Madness since her return. And it's really good to see her back. But I wanted to give Ryan Payne some props because she played meaningful minutes and is still playing meaningful minutes in place of Alexis Morris. So I don't want to overlook her by any means. But she really has played. I mean, she played 23 minutes on Saturday for us, and she got to start again today, which Morris is I think on probably a limited minutes. Seeing as she's still not starting. But man, you love to see the comeback. You love to see the fight in the Tigers, and the Kim Mulkey era in terms of postseason play is rolling like we feel like it should be.
Yeah.
It feels really nice to see that first Mulkey postseason win. And man, you gotta love Kim Mulkey and everything about her. I mean, she's just incredible.
Yep.
So that Jackson State game was interesting, but this game here today, here at halftime, is interesting as well. The Tigers are sitting down at halftime by 8 points, 26-34. It has been a brutal shooting half for the Tigers. Last I saw, which this I know was before halftime or well before halftime, but at one point in the game, we were 1-11 for 2-point shots and 2 for 4 from 6. That was when it was like 15-8, and Ohio State had gone on a 11-0 run to take that 15-8 lead. And the Tigers have found some shots. Kayla Pointer's doing her thing again, but they find themselves down here at halftime. Zach, what do they got to do better this next half so they can secure this win in advance?
They got to guard the perimeter. They LSU and Ohio State have actually taken around the same amount of shots. Ohio State's only taken one more shot than LSU has this half. The difference is Ohio State has 6 3-pointers made compared to LSU's 2.
Yep.
They are allowing uncontested 3-pointers, and that has been the difference in this game, as well as the turnovers. LSU so far has 9 turnovers on the game. They've got to limit the turnovers in the second half. They've got to guard the perimeter, and they've got to get, Jalen Cherry and Kayla Pointer going. Kayla Pointer's already got 9 points, so, continue to keep her going. Afua has got to get going in the paint. She's 0 for 4 at half. She hasn't been able to finish inside of the paint, and so they've got to get her going a little bit, definitely in the second half, if you want to be able to compete against this really well shooting Ohio State team outside the perimeter.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, first half, just look. Their defense was really swarming and just filling up the gaps, and it made it really hard for Afua to get to work in the paint. And we need Afua to work in the paint and get her a lot of points, because that's our game. We have Cherry who can hit some threes, and yes, Kayla Pointer can hit some threes, and Alexis Morris probably is your best 3-point shooter, and she's on a minutes limit, so your game is the 2-point right now. Like you're not going to live on the outside like Ohio State is. So you got to get going, and you've got to defend the perimeter, which, let's be real. Ohio State is actually kind of doing better than what they normally have so far in the year shooting from the 3.
Yeah, and the reason why is because they're uncontested.
Correct. They noted that Ohio State averages, I think, like 8 threes a game or something like that, and they have 6 at half. Yep. You've got to get a hand in their face, and their 5, their center has hit 2, and she's hardly taken any threes all season long. So that's got to be corrected this second half. Which the second half, I have it right here in front of me, is kicking off right now. So we'll kind of keep you live updates and whatnot throughout the game here. But yes, you got to get Afua working in the paint. You've got to get things moving, and hopefully you can break into that defense a little bit. Ohio State has been so swarming. I think we may have lost Zach there for a minute. He'll load back in here in a minute, so don't worry about that. I want to get to some of y'all's comments right now while we got a break here. Polk's Army, the question, what high school did y'all go to in Mississippi, and how old are y'all? Good question, Polk. We did go to DeSoto Central. My brother Zach is 24 and I am 22. I also saw your comment down here. Did y'all go to school with Austin Riley and Cameron James? Yes, we did. Zach actually graduated with Austin in 2015. And so graduated, and Cameron James' brother, Keegan James. Sorry, Cameron James' brother Keegan James was with Austin and Zach as well in the class of 2015. Keegan played for State. Of course, Austin went straight to the pros, and I was with Cameron when we were younger. He ended up staying back a year so he could compete a little bit more in sports and whatnot. But yeah, we graduated with them. They're awesome guys, incredible guys, and you gotta love it. You gotta love those guys. I love seeing them be successful. You also said, what made y'all think Will Wade was innocent after all the evidence you heard on the documentary game? Nobody said, neither Zach or I said that Will Wade was innocent. I don't know where you get that from, but we know that Brandon from the Balcony Bengals was on here, and he was pretty passionate and said that they don't have anything on Will Wade, but Zach and I never said that. For your information there. Let's see. You said you got some other questions. Brian Kelly fired my good friend that was in LSU recruiting office, and he did a great job. I mean, I hate to hear that your friend was fired, but that BK, he has, when you hire a new coach, they have full reins to do what they will with the staff, and evaluate the staff and whatnot. So I don't know what to tell you there, Polt. All right. So anyways, the game has started kick back off. Hopefully the Tigers can get back in it here, and they can advance to the Sweet 16. We would love to see that because we love Kim Mulkey and all she represents, and we want them to continue to win and go and win the national championship. That would just be absolutely incredible. All right. So let's move forward here. I don't have the ability to move our point up there, but we wanted to discuss the Matt McMahon hire. It was we announced, or we didn't announce. Let me rephrase that. We have talked about several times on our show. In fact, our last 2 episodes, we have mentioned Matt McMahon's name, and it's kind of crazy. Me and Zach, we had gone and watched the Bethune-Cookman game on Friday in that baseball series. And we were doing some other things down in Baton Rouge. But when we were making that trip back, while we were traveling back, that announcement was made that Will Wade was fired. And one of the first names Zach and I mentioned to each other was like, hey, Matt McMahon at Murray State is 30-2. And he's making $500,000, and we know that LSU can bump that up, and that would give that man a major pay raise. Zach, we got you back in here. Give us your initial thoughts on the Mac McMahon hire. I mean, we kind of called it, dude. We called it.
Yeah, I mean, first off, fantastic job by Scott to, do it in a pretty quick manner. I think by him doing it in a quick manner, that are pro, I think he can get in there now and he can really push, his philosophy, his scheme to the players that are on this roster right now, and potentially, be able to preserve some of them and bring some of them back. Obviously, when you get somebody that, has led a team to a 30-win season, it's a huge plus. But Matt McMahon has been doing a fantastic job at Murray State for a while now. Obviously, with us being close to Memphis, we know all about John Morant, and he is a product of McMahon and his coaching. And so, I mean, you see what John Morant is doing now in the league. I mean, he is absolutely taking the league by storm and is, in my opinion, potentially the future of the NBA. And so, it's just really encouraging You know, we don't know the contract details obviously yet, but I would assume this is somewhere in the neighborhood of a 6 and 24 type contract.
Yeah.
There's 24 million. We're going to see what it looks like, but you know, the biggest thing that we mentioned was that, are you still there, Reagan?
Yeah, you're kind of cutting in and out.
Anyways, the biggest thing that we mentioned was that, you know, he was only making $500,000 and, you know, Kim Mulkey's making 2.5. And so why wouldn't you go after, you know, him and offer him, you know, a number
Yeah.
that he's not even close to right now at Murray? And so, you know, it's really encouraging, you know, to be able to finally bring someone in and, you know, hopefully by how quickly Scott Woodward got rid of Will Wade and addressed the problems that were in the basketball program. Maybe there is a little bit of a let up with the sanctions. And you have to assume by bringing in somebody like Matt McMahon that they are going to have him for multiple years so he can work through these sanctions,
Absolutely.
you know. And I still think that Matt McMahon is going to be able to recruit at a high level at LSU. If you go and, you know, he to Matt Trent in the news channel today, you know, they and one of the biggest things that he said was that, you know, LSU is one of the biggest brands of all of college sports. And, you know, he's not
Absolutely.
wrong. And, you know, that was a big reason, you know, he coming to you because he knows that LSU, you know, it can recruit itself. You know, he doesn't have to go out and try as hard to get recruits like he did whenever he was at Murray State. He can go
Yeah.
out, he can recruit the brand of LSU, and that's one of the biggest points that he makes. And you know, I think he realizes that he's sitting on, you know, a gold mine essentially with LSU back.
A
You know,
sleeping
we've
giant.
seen where Will Wade brought it to. Um, he saw where Will Wade brought it to, you know, over these
Yeah.
past few years, and I'm sure he's thinking, man, I can get over there, and you know, I can do some damn.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I'm excited. You know, as you mentioned, first few names we mentioned, and you know, it was definitely different than what we typically see from Scott Woodward. So I'm interested to maybe see how this came about and why, you know, it was such a quick hire. Because you know, typically we see some smoke screens with Scott Woodward hires. You know, there's a lot of names thrown out there, and then all of a sudden it's like, here comes this person out of nowhere that we weren't even
Yeah.
expecting. But you know, McMahon was one of the first people that we heard coming out of LSU, and sure enough, he's the guy.
He's in Baton Rouge tonight. It's awesome. It's awesome. I mean, really, I love the swiftness of the hire. I love how quick they got this done, and I think that bodes really well for LSU. I think that the quickness that this was done is going to lean in LSU's favor from a roster standpoint. Um, I mean, we are talking just. I mean, when I can't remember the exact date he was, you know, fired or whatever, but just a few days before the NCAA tournament, you know, we just got done with the first weekend of the NCAA tournament. We've already got a coach hired. So
Yeah.
I really like how they got the guy they wanted and they went and they got it done and they've announced and like it's official. It's official.
Yeah.
And look, I like that there's a trend in the SEC lately of hires as well. Um, there is a trend of coaches being hired from mid-major programs that have major success at those programs, and they, like, for example, Nate Oates. Nate Oates came from Buffalo. He had a great tenure at Buffalo, and Alabama was looking for a head coach. They went and hired Nate Oates. and boom, here he is. And they've been really successful under Nate Oates, and they've done a great job so far. I know they were a first-round exit, but, I mean, that is an example there. And then you look at Eric Musselman, who was at LSU as an associate head coach under Johnny Jones, and then moved to Nevada as their head coach. And he played or coached there and was very successful. And lo and behold, Arkansas is looking for a head coach. They hire Eric Musselman, and they're having major success under Eric Musselman. This is the second year in a row that they've made it to the Sweet 16 under Eric Musselman. And now LSU, which you can look back at the LSU hire of Will Wade and say the same thing, right? Will Wade had success at VCU, and they made that hire. Here again, LSU is looking for a coach. Murray State, he's having a great season and an incredible tenure at Murray State. And, of course, like we said, he was only making $500,000. A school like LSU is going to pay him a lot more, and they bring him in. So I feel like there's definitely a trend going on with these hires in the SEC. And it looks like South Carolina is honing in on Chattanooga as Chattanooga. I can't remember his name, but Chattanooga's head coach as their next head coach. So we're excited about Matt McMahon. I mean, just looking at his record, he was at Murray State for 7 years, and he was 154, or excuse me, under his head coaching overall, he is 154-67. He is winning at a 70% clip. And now, kind of like what we talked about with Brian Kelly, now he gets to tap into the resources that LSU has. You get to tap into that recruiting, and we've seen what Will Wade did with his recruiting. And dude, Matt McMahon can go out and flex the brand now, right? I mean, he told you, like you said, this is one of the best brands in all of college sports, and Matt McMahon can now use that. He can go and use that as his recruiting tool. And I mean, let's be honest, the dude had Ja Morant on his team and turned Ja Morant into a second overall pick. And Ja Morant is having an MVP type of season right now in the NBA. I mean, dude is an absolute freak athlete and played at Murray State and had a great run at Murray State. And this is the coach you're getting, and you're giving him LSU type of recruiting. So we're super excited about the McMahon hire. And I mean, we got to take a little credit, man. We kind of called it. And I knew that, man, Scott Woodward, we know he likes to go, we've mentioned this, go and get the big name. And people are going to say, man, this isn't that splash hire, this massive pool type of hire, like maybe Tony Bennett would have been, or Scott Drew. But I said in the last show, yes, Scott Woodward, and we don't doubt Scott Woodward's ability to go and talk to those guys and interest those guys. And I don't think he would shy away from that. But you also got to realize, those coaches know what's going on, and there's going to be a realization that that we have these sanctions coming, so they're not going to leave their respective program to come to LSU and a program that is about to maybe face some postseason bans when they've already got a decent program where they're at, right? So I feel like this is a really smart move for Scott Woodward to go and get a guy who's been really successful and is now coming to LSU. Even though these sanctions are coming, he has the understanding of that. He still wants to come to a school like LSU compared to where he was at. No disrespect to Murray State by any means, but I mean, Murray State and LSU, there's a massive difference.
Yeah.
And there's also a massive pay difference, right? So I mean, I feel like this was a no-brainer in some sort of sense. But I feel like it was a brilliant hire. I feel like the timing was excellent. And I think now that you have a coach in place, not only is it the timing excellent, that you can retain players, it's excellent in the sense that, okay, he can prepare for these sanctions, and we have an understanding of what's to come. And you can also like look at it from the perspective of, okay, maybe the NCAA sees that, man, LSU is on their game right now. Like these NOAs came out, they didn't waste time, making the move of removing Will Wade. They went out, they found a coach who's been so respected and who's clean and who is not have any kind of blemish on his record. And you can look at that as the NCAA and say, okay, they are making an effort to clean this up. And you can look forward now to the sanctions and say maybe they'll lighten up a little this on us because we were so prompt, right? And I guess they liked that promptness, that quick action, because they noted that in the NOA about the football team being quick to make that move, being quick to respond and self-impose. So, maybe with that wording in the NOA that, hey, we recognize that the football program did this. Scott Woolward was like, okay, we need to take this opportunity. They pointed this out, so let's do this promptly and swiftly, so we can show them we are trying to make efforts to make do. And again, I want to make the point again. I get the NCAA has to do what they have to do. Like, there's punishment that's going to come. But I just really, really wish that there wasn't you wouldn't have to punish the players that had no involvement whatsoever. I mean, I know there's almost no way around that, but we know the head coach now, Matt McMahon. We know that none of the players currently here, or they're going to be here next year, were involved with any of this. And Matt McMahon and the players, whoever he brings, whoever he retains, will now have to deal with the punishment of what Will Wade did. So maybe the promptness, the swiftness will help that out a little bit, but we'll see. But overall, I think this is an excellent hire. I think this is probably exactly who you needed to go get in this type of situation. I mean, in this type of situation, this is exactly what you needed to go get. But I love it. I love the hire. I mean, it doesn't matter who you play, Zach. When you're 30-2, you're doing something right. When you finish the season 30-2, you are doing something right. And I am totally look forward to what Matt McMahon can do here, put together here. And it's going to be an exciting time for LSU sports, as, man, Scott Woolward has now made 8 head coaching hires at LSU, and he is really ushering in the Woodward era at LSU. So it's an exciting time. It really is. Y'all, I really apologize. We're having a really tough time tonight with internet issues and whatnot. Zach's having a problem with it. So I really apologize, y'all. There's nothing we can do about it. He may get back in here. He may not. Y'all may have noticed he's been lagging a good bit. I do want to get to some of y'all's comments here as well. The issue is I don't have the capability to throw the comments up there, but I will read your name. I will read your comment, and we will read as many as we possibly can. Pulse Army, I know you were saying you weren't getting the questions and whatnot. We wanted to get to your questions. We had some things addressed. Zach, Polk said earlier on a comment, and I addressed it. He said that we had said that Will Wade was innocent, and I clarified with him that we did not think Will Wade was innocent. We know that we had Brandon from the Balcony Bengals on, who said, they don't have anything, and he was pretty passionate about that. Brandon loved Will Wade, and that you saw his passion for that in what he said, but that was not what me and Zach said. We did not believe Will Wade was innocent. And in fact, I feel like from the very beginning, whenever that wiretap came out 4 years ago, we all knew that he had done it. So I mean, it is what it is. He got caught. Can't help it. Moving forward, Matt McMahon's the guy now. All right, Zach, throw some comments up there now that you're back in here, and we'll address these comments. We want to interact as much as we can tonight. Just to give a little update right now, it is not getting any prettier with the women's team. They have only scored 5 points since coming out in the half. It is 31-49. Ohio State is leading with 3 minutes left in the third quarter. We really hope that the Lady Tigers can pull off another comeback, but man, this Ohio State team is playing really good right now. Zach, let's throw some comments up there, and we will address as many as we possibly can. You in there, Zach? Surprised Cherry did not get an offer by Ole Miss and MSU being from
For
Mississippi.
sure.
Yeah, that is kind of surprising. I mean, you would expect a player like her to get in there and get, especially from a home state, get offers from Ole Miss, MSU. They may have offered. I honestly do not know her whole recruiting process. They may have offered. She may have just chose LSU, and that's okay. We're from Mississippi. We would have chosen LSU. This is one of the comments I did address earlier. I told him, we are from Mississippi. We went to DeSoto Central. And yes, we played with, or we didn't play with, we went to high school with Austin Riley and Cameron James as well. And we wish the best of luck to them in all of their pro pursuits. And obviously Cameron's still playing for Mississippi State right now. And Keegan's actually in the Rockies organization, last I heard. Zach also graduated with him as well. That's Cameron's brother.
Yeah.
Needless to say, DeSoto Central is pretty big when it comes to baseball. That's about our biggest sport.
Very much.
No doubt. No doubt. What else we got? I was surprised Sean Miller went back to Xavier. Thought we would land. I thought you were saying thought he would land one of these SEC jobs. Yeah, I was kind of shocked at that too. He was at Xavier in the past, and you normally don't see a coach come back to school, but Sean Miller decided to do so, and he was successful at Xavier, and maybe he's looking to have some more success at Xavier again. Xavier has been I wouldn't say a blue blood, but I mean they've had a great basketball program in recent history, and we'll see what he does while he's there. What else we got? Let's be honest. Will Wade got those players because he was dropping bags. Those players passed up a lot of blue blood schools for a reason. They don't grow up watching LSU basketball money talks. You may be right. LSU Mafia. I mean, we don't know how many of the players that he paid, how many that he didn't pay. But yes, I mean he obviously paid at least one or two, according to those NOAs. But he got caught. So moving forward, Matt McMahon hasn't done any of that, right? So it is what it is. TA live, Bobby Watts Jr. We're missing you, Bobby. We're missing you. We love having you on here. That's our moderator, Bobby Watts. He has an off night tonight. He's spending some time with his family, and we love having Bobby here. But we are missing you tonight. Zach's saying, man, it's difficult to do these comments and stuff without you here. So we appreciate Bobby and all that you do for TA. Let's see. What else do we got here? Let's go. All right. Well, let's hit a break real quick. Oh, one more comment here. What do y'all think about LSU making all the students get vaccinated? 92%, 280,000 with the COVID money for the students taking the jab. Good thing y'all live in Mississippi. I'm not so sure. I mean, I honestly haven't kept up with everything that LSU did with the vaccination. Just personally, I mean, this is America. I feel like you should have your own decision on things like that. I attend a school. They did not make us get a vaccine. But I don't know. I haven't kept up with any of that. But I feel like they should have been given a choice if that was really what was done. Anyways, let's take a quick break. And then we'll hit our last session here. We got some baseball to talk about. All right. Don't forget to go check us out on all of our social media platforms: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and now TikTok, all at Tigers Avenue. We post regularly on all of our social medias with updates of when we'll be doing shows, the times of the shows, the links to the shows, all of these said things. And also, make sure if you're watching on YouTube to click off and hit that subscribe button. We also are at Tigers Avenue on YouTube as well. We stream all of our shows on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, all at the same time. 5-Star Hero, your intro and outro music for the Tigers Avenue show. They ain't ready for that LSU. Check out all his music on all the major platforms. They ain't ready for that LSU, and of course, other songs as well. Follow him on Instagram at Saints Anthem and on Twitter at One Nation Doty. Also, don't forget to go check out his merchandise on his Facebook. Sarah Klein Stevens, attorney at law, our wonderful aunt who continues to support our show. We appreciate her very much. Her law firm focuses on the specific needs of the elderly and maintaining their dignity. Here for you, here for your family, Sarah Klein Stevens, attorney at law.
Guys, we want to encourage you to go and check out our website at tigersavenue.podbean.com. You can find the playlist to our YouTube as well as all of our latest episodes on the front page. If you go to the pages link, you can find 5-Star Heroes merch and all of his beats that are available on Apple Music and Spotify. If you go to our sponsors, you can see all of the sponsors that support Tigers Avenue and check out all of their info. If you check out the Tiger Times page, you can go and see all of our games that we've attended at Alex Box Stadium, Tiger Stadium, and the PMAC through the years. And if you click on the support page, you can go and find the QR codes for our Cash App and our PayPal to support Tigers Avenue. Again, all of this you can find at tigersavenue.podbean.com.
All right. LSU baseball loses 2 of 3 in the opening weekend of SEC play to Texas A&M. Really rough weekend for the Tigers. Some of your flaws really started shining through some more. Really glad that they were able to capitalize on Sunday and not get swept. But let's get into it here. Look, coming into this game against Texas A&M, you thought this was going to be that easy series, the one you kind of could guarantee yourself. A&M has been a solid defensive team, and man, we saw that defense this weekend. Their defense was very solid, and they continue to be solid like they were coming into this game. But the big thing was for A&M the offense. A&M had not been producing offensively. In fact, they were very, very low, and in some categories dead last when it came to the offensive side of the ball coming into this game. But boy, it sure did not look like that this weekend. On Friday night, they had 10 hits and 6 runs. And what hurts so bad about these games, specifically Friday and Saturday's game, is LSU was down and fought back in the game in the 8th inning, and then in the 9th inning, in the top of the 9th inning to Texas A&M, you allow 2 runs on Friday night, and on Saturday night you allowed, I believe it was 4 runs because they had 7. It was 7-7, and they went to 11, both in the top of the 9th. You had tied the game, and then you blew it in the top of the 9th. And it was, just absolutely brutal to watch some of these games defensively for LSU. A lot of these runs were unearned runs because we committed errors. You had 2 errors on Friday night against Texas A&M. 2 errors. And I mean, it just continues. LSU is dead last in the SEC when it comes to fielding. I mean, we are shooting ourselves in the foot repeatedly. Repeatedly, they are shooting themselves in the foot. And on Saturday, you had 2 more errors. You had 2 more errors on Saturday. You are in a position right now where you have, I don't know the exact numbers, but I know that they have 10 errors or more than any other team in the SEC currently.
It's not good.
It is absolutely brutal. And it's really just mind-boggling because Jordan Thompson last year was so solid defensively. And you have Trey Morgan, who's probably the best defensive first baseman in all of college baseball. Cade Doughty, who played a really great third base last year at second base. And, man, the struggles really do continue at third base as well, as we have not figured out who is going to be our consistent third baseman. Because we put Merrifield over there, we put Barry over there, we've even tried Bianco over there, and it seems that the hot corner just hasn't found its guy yet.
It's a rotating door.
I mean, right now, Merrifield has committed errors. He's been kicking the ball around. Barry has airmailed a few balls, and I don't mean to talk bad about them specifically, but those are just the guys who have been playing the position so far. And man, Thompson seems to continue to struggle. He makes some miraculous plays at times, and then at other times he can't pick the ball up, right? I mean, he can't field it clean. He can't transition it clean from glove to hand to throw. And it's just absolutely brutal right now. It's got, and I mean, how do you fix it? I don't know how you do. I mean, I don't know how
Reagan, I don't know if you saw I'm sure you did. I'm sure you saw the Trey Morgan play. That's like Sports Center top 10.
But it followed an error.
Yes. Like my thing was, I was talking in Spaces the other night. I was like, literally this play like sums up LSU's defense. Like they have the guys that are talented enough to make these plays, make these routine plays, and even make some crazy, like miraculous plays that are just really impressive, like we saw Trey Morgan do.
Yes.
But the reason he had to make that crazy miraculous play is because Jack Merrifield sailed it.
Yep.
And so, it's not like these guys are just bad defensively.
They're not.
Because they're not. They're talented guys. As you said, Reagan, I think this is potentially a fundamentals thing that they have just got to work through, and sometimes in baseball, it can be contagious, and with fielding, with batting, pitching at sometimes it can be contagious. And maybe that's just something that LSU is dealing with right now. Is guys are just not playing well defensively. They're not fielding well, and it's affecting the team as a whole. And I really think like the pitching and the fielding are kind of hurting each other. Specifically, I think the fielding is worsening the pitching because we knew coming into the season that the pitching staff was going to be like the greatest weakness. We knew that coming into the season. And it doesn't help whenever you are putting guys on base for free because of your fielding issues. Then you're forcing your pitchers to have to work around guys, and they're having to, work around innings and get out of jams because of the fielding. Now that the pitching has definitely played a part in that, because they are walking guys, they're hitting guys, they're allowing hits, and that also plays a role in affecting the fielding. So, it all, I think, just is interwoven together with the problems that they're having. But the good news is, like, the major problem in fielding is that this is completely fixable. This is something that you can fix. It's a fundamentals type thing, and we did not see this team commit this many errors like it did last season. Like, it's worse. It's definitely worse this season than it was last season. And so just from that, you can definitely build off of the problems that you've been making and correct those problems and correct the mistakes as you get further along in the season, as you get further along in SEC play, because you're going to have to. You're just going to have to, Reagan.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, like we said, we just played one of the last teams in the SEC offensively.
Not a great team.
I mean, like I said, this was one of the teams you thought you were going to get an easy series win against, and you did not. And you committed 2 errors in every single game. And we're talking about the errors, but our pitching allowed a lot of hits too, which then led to more errors. I mean, you allowed double-digit hits on Saturday, and you allowed 17 hits on Sunday. 17 hits you allowed on Sunday. That is way too many hits for a Sunday game where you have a pitcher where you should be winning most of your Sunday games. Now, they ended up pulling it out, but man, we had to come back in that game again. You had to come back again, and I like you said, I don't know what we're going to do. I mean, it's not like they're not working. I mean, we know that you're seeing it before the game. They're out there taking ground ball after ground ball after ground ball after ground ball. And I don't know what they're going to do to correct it. But man, it is just a struggle right now. You know that this team, or we know that this team can offensively take care of business. Now, it may not be exactly what we thought it was. I mean, some people unrealistically are expecting like 10 runs every single game, right? That's not realistic. But when you score 7 runs on a Saturday, you should be able to win that game in the SEC. When you score on Friday night, you scored 4 runs. Which we didn't have Blake Money, and that maybe it played another problem into this weekend. Is your rotation was off a little bit. You just it is what it is. But Saturday, you scored 4 runs, and of course your errors cost you greatly on Saturday. But you should have been able to win this series when you scored 7 runs in 2 different games. I mean, really. And the Saturday night game is going to haunt us. I mean, you brought that game back to 7, and then in the 9th inning, you just absolutely blew it. And it started with an error that was sailed over the first baseman's hand that came from the third baseman. And man, I know this team is going to continue to improve, so I don't want to just give up on the team. Obviously, we're not going to do that because it's way too early in the season to do that. But look, you got to turn it around. You play a lot of games in baseball, so you got to bury it. You got to move on. You got to continue to improve. You got to hope that the errors will I don't know, I guess stop or at least lighten up a little bit. But this offense is powerful enough to get you through this. Now, another main issue that we haven't talked about a lot is the pitching rotation. Jay Johnson said on Sunday after the game that they are going back to the drawing board. They're going back to the drawing board, and they're going to figure out what they need to do on the rotation. He said for Florida this coming weekend, you can mark it down as TBA, TBA, TBA on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And I kind of like the approach. I mean, whenever you have a weekend like this, you kind of need to go back to the drawing board and address, what we need to do. What do we need to do to correct things? And, I mean, we'll see. We'll see what he does. I fully expect to see Blake back out there on Friday. I know he had a rough go at it. But, man, when you've strained your hand like that and then you come back a week and a day later, Maybe you're not 100%. You're not fully there. So he didn't have his best stuff, but I feel like he still was doing good enough that this offense could have won the game. But it's a long season ahead. We just started SEC play. We're not going to give up and bail on them and just throw the season to the wind. But we'll see it. We'll see how it goes moving forward, and we'll see what Jay Johnson decides to do this weekend with the rotation. All right, y'all. Let's wrap it up. We really, before we hit these ads and we close the show out, again, I wanted to apologize. I know this show has been a little bit choppy. We've had some major technical issues and internet issues, so we apologize for that. Hopefully, next show on Friday night, we will not be dealing with this, and it'll be a lot more smoother. But let's close it out on a good note. Just as a little update, the Tiger girls are losing pretty big right now. They're down 60-42 with about 7.5 minutes left. So unfortunately, barring a miracle comeback, this may look like the end of the road for the Kim Mulkey first year. Great year for Kim Mulkey. We're going to continue to see great success from her. So even though it may come to an end tonight, best of luck next year, because you got Kim Mulkey as your head coach. You got to stay positive when you have a national champion coach, a legend coach like that on your side. All right, let's hit these real quick. Make sure you follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and now TikTok, all at Tigers Avenue. We continually post updates on all of our shows with the upcoming shows, all things Tigers Avenue, when our shows are happening. Also, make sure if you're watching on YouTube to click off and hit that subscribe button and subscribe to YouTube channel at Tigers Avenue. We stream all of our shows on YouTube, on Facebook, and Twitter, all at the same time. 5-Star Hero, your intro and outro music for the Tigers Avenue.
LSU Tigers, LSU Tigers. Who that 5-star? Who that 5-star?